What's up, folks? How's it going? This is Watch. Hope you guys are all doing well. And today we're going to be comparing the Nintendo Switch Lite versus the new 2DS XL. Now, the new 2DS XL essentially replaces the 3DS XL that was available for several years. And eventually, the Switch Lite probably wants to take over the space of the DS. But right now, the new 2DS XL and indeed the 2DS is still a product that Nintendo is manufacturing for the time being and still kind of a competitor and certainly a family of gaming consoles available from Nintendo. Now, from a price perspective, you're looking at about $199 for the Switch Lite versus the new 2DS XL typically could be had with Mario Kart for around $129 to about $150 depending upon where you get it, and the standard 2DS is around $80. And certainly in terms of the compact form factor with the clamshell design, the new 2DS XL is more compact than even the Switch Lite. It's also slightly lighter, weighing around 260 grams versus the Switch Lite is around 276 grams, but not a huge margin there. Now, from a hardware perspective, you are getting quite a lot more with the Switch Lite. It's basically the same exact internals as a full-size Nintendo Switch console, but in a scaled-down form factor. It doesn't have an HDMI output, which would have been a really great feature, but the Switch Lite has a much superior, higher resolution display that measures around 5.5 inches, has a native resolution of 1280 by 720, and that's quite a lot better than the 400 by 240 upper screen that we have on the new 2DS XL. Granted, it is a larger screen than what we had with the original 3DS XL, about 4.88 inches in terms of diagonal size. The lower touchscreen, optimized for the stylus, is fairly rudimentary in terms of its resolution, only measuring about 320 pixels by 240 pixels, and it's about 4.18 inches in terms of size. Now, the Switch Lite uses the exact same custom configured NVIDIA Tegra processor inside, so the graphical performance is going to be up there with what you're going to expect to see on the full-size Switch, which is going to below the ARM11 processor that we have on the new 2DS XL. Granted, the new 2DS XL for a DS is definitely better than the previous generation, but pales in terms of technical and graphical comparison towards what we have on the Switch Lite. Now, in terms of the control interface, the Switch Lite is pretty much identical to the full-size Switch with the Joy-Cons inserted into the display, so you have dual analog thumbsticks. You might have the same inherent issues that were present in the original Switch in terms of reliabilities, sticky buttons, and issues with the thumbsticks long term. I haven't experienced that thus far, but I've had seen complaints online of people complaining that they've had issues with the thumbsticks and more reliability concerns with the hardware itself. But since the Switch has essentially the same controls that you would find on a gamepad designed for a full-fledged gaming console, it does open up to a bigger scale of games and possibilities, so you can play first-person shooter games, racing games, and things like that. Now, the new 2DS XL, in terms of button, has a decent variety. You have a circle pad on the left-hand side, a little numby thing that they call the C-stick on the right-hand side, as well as an awesome directional pad, A, B, X, Y buttons, as well as 4 sets of triggers located on the back, and not to mention you have that full touchscreen interface. It's really optimized for puzzle games, strategy games, brawling type games, as well as your classic Nintendo platformer games. Now, you can certainly play more complex, full-fledged console-style games in here, and certainly there's been a number of ports over the years, but due to the fact that you don't have dual analog thumbsticks and the overall shape of the console is not really ergonomically friendly for long-term use, especially for more precise controls, and at the end of the day, it's really optimized for the more vintage-style Nintendo gaming library. Obviously, Pokemon's very, very popular onto here, as well as the classic Nintendo platformers. Now, one thing that is advantage on the new 2DS XL is durability. The fact that it has that clamshell design means that you can make it a lot more durable, and certainly the screens and all the controls will be protected when the console is not in use. That's not the same thing as the exposed control interface that we have on the Nintendo Switch Lite. So in terms of being toddler or young kid friendly, from a durability standpoint, I think the new 2DS XL definitely has that over the Switch Lite. Now, in terms of some of the other differences, we still have a camera located on the hinge on the new 2DS XL. We don't have any cameras on the Switch Lite. Both use a micro SD expansion for user upgradable memory, which is awesome. There is a difference in terms of the Wi-Fi. We have G standard on the DS versus the Switch Lite uses the faster AC protocol as well as Bluetooth. Both have NFC capability. Both have speakers and a headphone jack, although the stereo speakers on the Switch Lite do sound a little bit better than what we counter on the new 2DS. And when it comes to talk about battery, we basically have a much larger battery capacity on the Switch Lite. It is a lot more power hungry, relatively speaking, 3570 milliamp hours versus 1300 milliamp hours on the new 2DS XL. They're rated similar in terms of battery life, up to 7 hours according to Nintendo, but based on our given experience, we got a runtime about 3 hours and 23 minutes on a given session on the Switch, and on the 2DS XL we played Mario Kart 7 and got a total runtime about 5 hours and 8 minutes. Granted, these are completely different gaming titles that require different resources out of the internal processing, but on average you're probably more than likely going to experience a couple of more hours of battery life on the new 2DS XL relative to the Switch, due to the fact that the games are a lot less resource intensive. Now lastly, when it comes to the games library, the Switch Lite can essentially play all of the existing Switch library, which is over 2,800 games, and the same thing goes with the new 2DS XL. It can play pretty much most of the games designed for the 3DS, minus the 3D component, which was useless and kind of a gimmick to begin with, and that's over 1,200 gaming titles or so. And in both regards, that's a pretty extensive library of some decent title games out there from both Nintendo and third-party indie developers and things like that. Now, importantly, the Switch library is certainly going to only expand from here on out because there are more high-profile developers making content for that specific platform, because it's still an active competitor in the high-profile gaming console war, if you want to call it that. And Nintendo probably doesn't want to put too many resources on to the DS, 2DS, 3DS library of games, although they'll probably come out with new titles just to keep the platform going, but you're not going to see as much attention and as much resource and money thrown into that space compared to what you're going to find with the Switch and the Switch Lite respectively. So in terms of going forward, I definitely think that the 2DS XL is still an awesome portable gaming platform, still one of the best solutions out there, especially for younger audiences and gamers getting first exposed to the whole gaming space. I definitely think that a 2DS XL is a better gift than a smartphone for somebody that's under the age of 5 or 6, first getting into gaming and things like that. Definitely will pick physical controls over touchscreen interfaces, but the Switch Lite is pretty much king of the hill when it comes to the portable gaming console experience. There's no real active competitors right now. Sony is pretty much out of the game. Microsoft is not going to compete in this specific space, and mobile gaming in the smartphone world hasn't really matured enough, and the third-party game pads are never going to really give you the same experience as you're going to find in the Switch Lite for the time being. Now we're going to have a video coming up talking about specifically what are your portable gaming options out there, so definitely make sure you're subscribed to the channel for that video. We're currently working on it right now, but I want to give you guys a huge shout out and thank you so much for watching. If you have any specific questions, let me know. Check out the links in the description for more details, and we'll see you real soon. Take care.